Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk all about the books I read in the month of January. Before we get on into it, I wanted to address the fact that yes, my cat is grooming herself behind me. If you want to see what I'm up to on a day-to-day basis, Twitter and Instagram are going to be the best place to do that. It's at Kendra Cus on both Twitter and Instagram. And then I have a Bookstagram, which I recently just started a couple months ago, and it's called at Kendra Cus Reads. So you can find me on there. It'll always be linked down below in the description box. But you know what? Let's just go ahead and get right on into things. So actually the first book I read has me excited for many different reasons, but one of them being the fact that my friend had read it and she knew I read it after her and loved it, and then they invited me to be a guest host this weekend. I don't know if this video is gonna go before then, I hope so, but this weekend on Sunday, today is the 12th, so on the 16th, I'm going to be participating in a live show as a guest host. I'm so excited, but it is for The Lovely War by Julie Berry. This book, seriously, like, wow. First of all, can we talk about how one time I went to Barnes & Noble to find this and they didn't have it, and they said they had it, but they didn't. I couldn't find it anywhere. The lady who was helping me couldn't find it. And the second time I went, I found it on my own, and I was just like flabbergasted, so happy that I found it. And this book is so near and dear to my heart. If you don't know anything about The Lovely War, well, it's called just, there's technically no the, it's Lovely War. It's really interesting because it's like Greek mythology mixed in with historical fiction. And it is such a unique take. When I first heard about it, I was like, are we sure? But then, listen, the book starts off with Aphrodite being caught in an affair with Ares. It starts out in like 1942, and her husband, I don't know if I pronounced this name correctly, but it's like Hephaestus, I think. Hephaestus catches her in this affair, and then she wants to plead her case, and she does it like courtroom style. And she pleads her case by talking about these two romances that took place that she pushed along, and these take place during World War I. And first of all, I never thought I'd be interested in like a book that revolves around war, but this is just like so next level different. Basically, Aphrodite says that she's not capable of real love. And the reason why she's not capable of a full real love is because she's the reason behind love. And then she goes on to describe how and why she's saying that based off of these two stories. These two stories are, one of them is with Hazel and James. They meet just right before he is shipped off to war. So it's kind of like this, what we think, tragic love story of them falling in love. It's one of those like love at first sight kind of things. Falling in love right away, hanging out for like 3 days, and then he actually gets shipped off even a couple days early to go to war. And so it's this back and forth of letters, and you get her perspective, you get his perspective. The other story, the other love story, is with Colette and Aubrey. Colette is originally from Belgium, if I remember correctly, and she had to flee. And then she lived in France with her aunt, and then she went to work at the YMCA, which is where her and Hazel actually met. And Aubrey is a black soldier from New York, I believe. And at this time, black soldiers were definitely not treated as regular soldiers, even shipped overseas. And they kind of were doing all the grunt work rather than actually doing something that they felt was impactful. And Aubrey is sent to that YMCA where both Hazel and Colette are working. It's just such a beautiful story. Not only are the two love stories so beautiful, but you really grow to have this like insane love for Aphrodite and her life and what she does, and you understand her reasoning for why she does certain things and why she was having an affair. And it was just chef's kiss, so beautiful. This is 5 out of 5 stars. This was my first read of 2020. I did not expect this to become a new favorite book of all time, but alas, here we are, adding Lovely War to my favorite books of all time. You should read this. It's amazing. It's insane. It's so good. Let's carry on. The next book I read had the opposite effect on me, and it is A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kemmerer. This is the follow-up to A Curse So Dark and Lonely, and I'm obviously going to give you my reasoning as to why I didn't love this and why I did like some of it without spoiling the first one either if you haven't read it. The first one is obviously called A Curse So Dark and Lonely. It is about our main character Harper, who is kind of taken into this other world because it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and Ren, who is our beast, and Gray, who is his like first in command, Prince's guard type of guy. And Gray essentially takes Harper from the human world of Washington, D.C. to their world, which I forget what it's called. And anyways, you know what I mean. So I really, really loved the first book, actually a lot. I felt like Harper was a main character who I really enjoyed listening to and watching and hearing all of her reasoning behind the decisions she makes. Every decision she made, whether or not I would have made it or not, I never disagreed with because I felt like it was always a smart decision. She was very well-rounded and her head was always on top of her shoulders, even when she was falling in love and even when she was like kind of a mess. I felt like she always was working towards a better place, a safer place, a happier place for everyone involved. I loved the first book so much. The second book I knew was going to be more of Gray's book, but I didn't fully realize that it was going to be literally 100% Gray. They have one chapter at the beginning of this book which takes place in Harper's perspective, and then that's literally the only chance you get Harper's perspective. If you have the Barnes & Noble edition, there is an included bonus chapter at the end of this, which is Harper's perspective, which takes place about halfway through the book. Here's my biggest gripe with this, and I'm not going to give anything away of the first book, but if you really want absolutely no spoilers, then I would skip to this timestamp. And I'm going to count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So Ren does some things in this book that are 100% out of character. It's not that Ren has ever been so perfect and loving and kind, because he never really has been. That's not really his character. He is very stoic, and I think he's actually a very good prince or king or whatever. But in this book, he does things that are very much out of character, and it is so bloody obvious that the author wants us to despise Ren. I think that she's going to do this massive comeback story in the third book of Ren and make you fall in love with him again. I did not like this. I did not like that the author was trying to make us feel prejudiced towards Ren when we had no idea what's going on in Ren's life. At the end of this book, there is like a massive cliffhanger ending, I guess, kind of more so like surprise ending. There is one chapter of Ren at the end, and you get a little bit of what was going on, but obviously I'm not giving anything away. I think that the third book has promise. Actually, they just came out with the name for the third book, and it's garbage. It's like A Vow So Bold and Deadly, and I literally hate that name so much. But I think that the way this ended makes me think that I will like the third book, but I was very disappointed in this. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Contemplating 2.5 out of 5 stars, but it's funny because it made me go from loving Gray to not really liking Gray. He felt very weak and felt very easily manipulated in this book, and I just feel like that doesn't make any sense because that's not who he was before. In any case, I will continue on with the series because I loved the first book so much, but just understand that that's that, and you might not love it if you're like me. So the next thing I read, graphic novel, was Saga Volume 4. I obviously am just going to tell you my rating and then give you a little bit of backstory on the entire Saga series rather than tell you much about this book because it would give stuff away. But I liked this. It actually was probably my least favorite out of the entire series so far. I think I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. The first one was a 4 out of 5 stars, but the second and third were 5 out of 5 stars because they were so brilliant. I loved them so much. This, if you don't know anything about it, is about it's almost like star-crossed lovers kind of thing, and sci-fi in space with these different kind of species, these robot people, these weird looking things. But I love this series so much. It is about 2 warring planets, the one she comes from and then the one he comes from, and they fall in love and then they get pregnant and have a baby, and now they are on the run from both sides. Both sides hate them. It's so brilliant. I love the character development of both. I love the plot of this story. I love the side characters because even the side characters are given a lot of time and development. It's just really well done. I think you'll like this if you enjoy a graphic novel and also if you enjoy a fun sci-fi story. It doesn't take me too long to get through this. I would say like 30 to 45 minutes, and I've read the entire thing. So I definitely recommend this series. It is an adult graphic novel though, so there is some adult content, a little bit explicit occasionally here and there. It's not like heavy-handed, but just go in knowing it's not a young adult. Let's move on. So it was like the third Sunday in January, and I just wanted to lay in bed all day and just read a book. So I ended up choosing The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. I actually had ordered this on barnesandnoble.com because it wasn't in stock anytime I went to check in the Barnes & Noble in my area. So I had ordered it and I had expected it to come on Saturday, and it didn't. It ended up coming on Monday. And so I found an EPUB of it and read it all that day. Actually, I think I had like 10% left I had to read the next day. That was because a friend ended up coming over Sunday night and we hung out with him, but I would have for sure finished. I really liked this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. If you don't know anything about this book, it is about this kingdom of like 15 years ago, they had a war, and the way that they like squashed the war was the king, her dad, the king, had promised to marry one of his future daughters to the prince at the time of the other kingdom, and that was the best way to like squash this war. The king of her dad, the king, he had already had like literally 20 daughters from all different moms, and at that point they were all 5 years old. So by the time this story really picks up, she is 20 years old. This is an adult fantasy, but it is, if you are like wanting to get into adult fantasy, I feel like this is such a perfect transition from young adult to adult, because it does have a lot of similar themes to young adult, but it's just more like real and believable and has more real world problems, even though this is a fantasy story. But do you know what I mean? Like, has more like raw, real problems to it.
I feel like every video lately has one of these, but I genuinely don't know what I was trying to say there. It's just more new adult or adult fantasy than young adult. Obviously, the characters are slightly older, and I just feel like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it really fits the new adult age and theme, and it makes it a perfect transition from young adult to adult or new adult fantasy, and I really liked that about it.
So this is a hate to love romance. I loved it so much. I loved him a lot, and I really liked her. It is one of those things where you're kind of personally, I kind of got annoyed of her after a little bit, because I felt like she was literally like given the perfect knowledge as to why she shouldn't back her father anymore, and she still struggled with it for like months. And it's like, I know it's hard. If I was in that position, it would be hard, but she's always hated her father. Her father has always been bad. So I feel like it like genuinely should have been easier for her to understand the bad things her father has done, rather than still think this other kingdom is so horrible. But with all that being said, I still loved it. It was a 4 out of 5 star for me. It would have been a 5 out of 5 star if I could have related to her more in that regard, like if she wasn't so, basically what I was just saying. I feel like I can't capture my words for this, but I love this. You should definitely read this. The sequel comes out sometime this year. I have no idea when.
The sequel is actually called The Traitor Queen. It comes out February 27th, but it is an Audible original, and the paperback or the published hardback or paperback does not come out till this fall. So even though I physically read this first book, I'm obviously going to listen to the audiobook when it comes out. I already pre-ordered it because I can't wait till this fall to read it. But yeah, I wanted to give you guys that information since I was honestly so clueless and also just like so dim. Like I could not come up with my words while filming this video.
But I'm so excited. I loved the fact that it was a fantasy world, and she made me so captivated without there being like magic or magical creatures. I love those, and those are my favorite types of fantasy, but I love that there was none of that in here, and I was still so captivated and enthralled by this. It is a quick read. It is a fun read. I love the world. Can't wait to carry on whenever the next one comes out. My battery light has been flashing for literally 10 minutes now, so let's see if I can get through this video without it dying. And the last book I finished in the month of January is Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. This book is a contemporary novel. It's definitely new adult. I don't know why this was, Barnes & Noble doesn't have a new adult section, so I know why this was in a young adult section, but it's definitely new adult. Our main character is 18 or 19, I think, And then the love interest is 21. But the themes in this book are definitely more new adult. I really liked it though. I think I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was a really good standalone. I really liked both characters. I thought they were both very believable human beings who have experienced a lot, and the way they're coping with it was so well done. I feel like it was so real and raw, but also so unique to their personalities. They were brilliantly created characters. I feel like they had such deep personalities each, and I was really enthralled by these two characters. They were believable, they felt real, and I think that is something that some contemporary books, I mean, I don't read a lot of contemporary, but that's the reason why I don't like contemporary so much, is I just don't ever vibe with the characters, but I did vibe with these guys. This was a completely random pick for me. I actually was on a 4-hour plane ride there and back, so it was an 8-hour round trip. And I wanted to read something that is brand new. When I go on planes, I like to kind of just pick a random book for it. And I never read contemporary, but contemporaries are a lot faster reads than fantasy. So I was like, let's give this a try. The cover's stunning. I like that they had a texting relationship. The only gripe I had with this book is I felt pretty unsatisfied at the end. And I don't want to say I wasn't satisfied, because a lot did come full circle and were fully, like, some of the things were fully closed out, but a lot of it seemed a little rushed. And also I didn't feel like there was enough closure and enough like wow for me at the end to feel like, oh yeah, okay, well, the story's good, the story's done. I felt like I definitely could have used another maybe 2 or 3 chapters, and that the ending was done in like 3 chapters when it could have been done in 6. Does that make sense? And the chapters aren't very big, by the way. They're shorter chapters. With all that being said, I still recommend this. I thought it was so cute, so good. It definitely touches on a lot of topics, and it does it really well. There's definitely some anxiety and a little bit of depression rep in this, and it's just so good. I really liked it. And 3.5 stars is a pretty good rating. That just means that there was a couple of things I didn't like, but I still really enjoyed it. And I did. But also this cover is just so pretty. I'm not a pink person. I actually really don't like pink. Well, it's not that I don't like pink. It's just not me at all. It doesn't feel authentic when I see it or wear it, so that's why I don't love it. I mean, ignore my sweatshirt, please, but it's so pretty, and I love just the minimalism of it and the gold. It's so pretty. I also wanted to mention something that's completely digital that I read all last month. Well, I literally read it in one day because I was so obsessed, and it is Lore Olympus. If you don't know what Lore Olympus is, why? Also, it's always talked about on book Twitter, so you can just find it there. But Lore Olympus is this really fun modern take on Greek mythology. It is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and it is so good. I love it so much. Every Saturday night I'm just itching to read the next chapter because they come out weekly, and of course your girl paid to read 3 of them early, and now I just feel like I'm too ahead of everyone else, and now I'm just constantly waiting for the next thing. But it is so good. It's really funny. I really like it because the world where all the Greek gods and goddesses live looks like our modern day downtown city vibes. And then the human world looks like our traditional Greek, old world Greek looking world. And it is so funny. I just think that's really cute and unique. And I also love Persephone. I would literally do anything for her. And Hades is Zaddy, and I love them, okay? But also, I can't believe that some of you guys have been reading this since the beginning, have waited almost 2 years for them to get together. Just let that stew in your brain. You guys have a lot of patience. I'm lucky because I didn't start reading it till 3 weeks ago. So, okay guys, so that is going to be it for this January wrap up. If you want to check out more of what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, like I said earlier, my social medias are the best place, Twitter and Instagram at Kendra Cus, and my bookstagram at Kendra Cus Reads. Pretty plain and simple, just like my YouTube name. But I'm gonna let you guys go. Have a great morning, noon, evening, day, night, whenever happens to be that you're watching this, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.